Welcome back to the Finding Flow podcast. I just want to take a quick second to thank our sponsors, the Inflow Wellness Academy, located in Plymouth, Michigan. They offer some amazing services that can help you better achieve these states of flow by optimizing your health and your wellness. Their services include personal training for general population, for athletes, for just about anybody. They offer pain modalities like massage therapy, laser therapy, yoga, durability classes, and they're experts in nutrition and supplementation. So if you're really looking to take your health and your body and your wellness to the next level, that's the place to be. That's the place to seek out. You can find them at inflowacademy.com. You can find them on Facebook and YouTube at Inflow Wellness Academy and on Instagram at Inflow Academy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Everything changes.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Finding Flow. I'm Kevin Lowers.
I'm Ben Knapp.
And we missed last week. It was kind of a crazy week, so we're going to try to play catch-up here, maybe get 2 episodes in this week.
If you guys can handle all this knowledge.
Yeah.
It's only if you can handle it, please.
I don't even know if I call it knowledge. I just make it all up as we go.
Post your knowledge bombs below.
Yeah. Knowledge bomb.
Knowledge bomb.
Yeah. Such a pretentious thing to say.
It is.
About to drop knowledge bombs in here.
It depends on how you say it. I mean, I would like sit up straight if somebody like said it the right way.
Everybody sit down, shut up. I'm about to drop some knowledge bombs.
Can I grab a pen?
Yeah, I feel like
Do I have time to go get a pen?
I feel like if you have to like prelude with like that before you say something, you're just not that important. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like saying, to be honest, as if like you're not typically honest.
With all due respect.
You know? Yeah.
If you start something with all due respect, I know you're about to cuss me out.
The best of all is the no offense. Like, no offense.
No offense, asshole.
But your face is just like ugly.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Like, I said no offense.
It's
I'm
disproportionate.
Yeah,
I mean, it's weird. Like,
listen, don't take offense to the offensive thing I'm about to say to you.
Your mother did something she didn't tell you about.
Yeah, you're not doing good. I don't know how you made it this far. But, hey, good for you.
Have you ever had any blood work?
Yeah.
Like, what did it say?
Oh, that's funny.
Awesome.
That's funny. So, what do you want to talk about today, man?
You know, it was interesting. We tried to, come up with topics. I don't really know what our motivation is behind each of them. I think it's, just to chit-chat about something we both think we know something about. But something that was on my mind a lot, I think it's because I was reading on it, was basically the whole why of everything. It's like, have you ever had, I'll ask you, have you ever had like a bad day and you're just like, why do I take this way to work? Or why didn't I just call in today? Or why do I work there? Or why do I stick this relationship out? It's like you're always going to have those moments. So I spent a lot of time on Saturday actually considering a lot of whys, but I wasn't necessarily doing it in a panic way, but you just want to know that your ideas and the time that you spend maybe with friends or maybe with family or contemplating, it's like I always want to measure it. I always want to know that it's going somewhere. So but not everything's like, they're not going to send you an email and say, "Well, congratulations on your contemplation yesterday. You've logged X amount of points into your futuristic vision planning. Congratulations. So I guess I was thinking a lot about that, like why. So like starting with this podcast, like why are we doing this podcast? Why are we taking time out of each week and setting up and chit chatting? So if I asked you your why relating to podcast, what do you think?
Well, I mean, for one, to cultivate ideas and to spread ideas, I think would be one reason. And I don't get enough conversation, I think, sometimes. I don't think it's not a common thing just to put everything away and sit down with somebody and just converse for an hour. It just like it doesn't really happen, like one-on-one. It's kind of a rare thing without someone going on their phone.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
But
I was trying to make sure.
But yeah, and I think with what we're trying to create with the Inflow Wellness Academy, it's a good line of exposure for people to learn about who we are, what we do, and kind of to get a more in-depth look on how we're not just putting meatheads through workouts, and we're trying to resolve issues beyond just the physical and try to create a mentally stable life as well as a physically stable life. So, but the why is it's definitely a strange one, and to kind of build on it is like a lot of those things, like the contemplation and the hours you spend reading, like you don't really see like an immediate value. I think sometimes, right? I think like we live in this culture that drives like currency as like the one big pillar of success for whatever reason, and I feel like an external pull to it or an internal pull to it, either one, both of them, and I know that it's not going to bring me full happiness, but there's a weird like it's almost like if I spent 20 minutes contemplating and somebody paid me $20, I'd be like, all right, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like that's not the point, right? I think the discipline of like cultivating your mind far outweighs cultivating currency. But why does it feel like you're not getting anywhere when you spend 3 hours reading?
Yeah, why is the currency so much more? It gives you sometimes so much more. I have so much more gratitude, when I guess it's because I think, don't we want our thoughts acknowledged? Like even when we look at our podcast to see who's listening to it, and we look at the analytics of it, it's nice to know that somebody's actually, listening, but it's like you're almost measuring your time. You're almost measuring your effort. Like, why did I do this if I only got 10 likes? So was it like motivated or was it topic motivated? You know what I mean? So I do. I think it's why.
I think everybody goes through a 10 like phase too. I feel like you got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then again, I think if we can like shape things in a way that make us better people, if you can like if that post that you made you think deeper about like the form of a squat as a coach. And then you put it out there and nobody liked it. Like at least you put some thought into, squat form, and maybe, you got something out of it that you didn't have before. But it's definitely like when the income stream, like, and again, I think money like plays this very strange role in our society. It's such an important role, that it can be skewed as like being, the primary driver. And like with it comes a lot of power, like freedom, like imagine if somebody put $1 million in our bank account at the academy, like we could expand, we could do a lot of things that we constantly think about doing, but just, don't really have the means and the funds. So we try to put our efforts towards things that don't cost money. And I think we've built like a very phenomenal structure with what we've had. And it's just about trying to get the ideas out there. And I think that's what this platform does for us. We're selling these ideas more than we're selling our training facility, mm-hmm. I think, right?
Yeah, well, I think I find it interesting too because people are never at a loss for their opinion on things. They'll tell you what they think you need to do, and so I simply always ask people, okay, like why? Like how did you come to that conclusion? Like how, if you tell me to, read 30 minutes a day, first question I'm going to ask you is why? Like, did you read a study that showed somehow that 30 minutes a day? So it can be tough analyzing everything. You know what I mean? But I find it interesting, sometimes if I say, I'm not really in the mood to go to work today, why don't I do something else? I guess it's important that if any of our clients are listening to this, I don't really contemplate that, doing what I'm doing. But it's interesting because I am always asking why. Why do I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I say this? Why didn't I say anything there? And when you don't always have an answer, when you don't always have a rhyme to a reason, because sometimes you won't know. Again, is the life still worth lived if nobody ever knew who you were and nobody ever heard one of your single ideas? If you lived your life organically and to your nature and responsibly, so, why does somebody live a noble life if nobody knows they're noble? So I think sometimes I think about that, with the Inflow Wellness Academy, with this podcast is, people give me some great suggestions on, have you guys ever thought about adding this to your business and doing this to your business? And, people love to use the boot camp analogy, like you guys should just have boot camps, and, if you want to try to get 100 people in there that you don't know who they are and you're not really helping them at all, just to try to if your why is to make more money, then I guess that's cool. But it's funny, like even if I question what I'm doing, I don't know if you feel this way, but I don't really have a choice. I feel like I don't really think I have a choice as to what I'm doing right now. I don't really know that my brain could go another way. I don't really know that I could just stop thinking today and go back to the factory and just say, yes, sir. Sometimes it's an intriguing idea, but I just don't think it's something that I can do at this point.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of intrinsic value in just persevering and like understanding that like we're born into chaos. Like life is chaos, life is unknown. You know what I mean? It's something that I've grappled with, like with what I've had to kind of deal with at a young age was the constant unknown. You know what I mean? And like every rational person, I think, in my situation would have just continued to work a 9 to 5. But I knew. And again, this is probably coming from like my desire to like learn and grow from a very young age. Like I started reading a lot, and it's just like the one commonality was to like be original and like just like create your own day. So there's certain days where like when I'm driving and I'm not at work in the middle of the day, I'm like out and about or doing something where I reappreciate and have gratitude for not working the 9 to 5. You know what I mean? And trying to create something. And again, like we joke about it all the time. If 2019 hits and we're still sitting here picking our asses, we might have to rethink. But I think we've created a culture, and we're continuing to build upon that culture. And like we're just looking for that positive tipping point. I think again, like bringing it back to the podcast, like what we sell are ideas, and then we facilitate the ideas through what we do at the Wellness Academy, right? Like training isn't just doing poor formed kettlebell swings until you broke a sweat and feel like you exercised. Like that's how you get osteoarthritis in your lower lumbar. That's not how you create a body that's going to last a lifetime. So trying to break down these barriers, it's like, I mean, me and you have this conversation. Me, you, and Dan have this conversation every week. Like why, why don't people give us the chance? Like, why do people go over to Fit Body Boot Camp? Like, is it because their marketing's better than ours? Because they have better click funnels? Because they're cheaper? Because they're involved in groups? Is it all come down to tribalism? Like, what is it? Like, if we can guarantee a better service, which I know 100% we can, like there's no doubt that we provide probably one of the best services for strength and conditioning, wellness in this area. Why aren't we successful, right? Like,
how about why not?
Yeah, why not?
Well, what does it mean to? Okay, I love that, and I like that where this conversation is going already, because I think when you mentioned success, so I think you have to have we would have to have a general understanding of what success means to you and what success means to me to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, right? So I guess for every why, you could always say why not.
Well, I mean, like, it's not that we're not unsuccessful, right? Like, I should dial back, but I'm saying like we're not like financially just like crushing the game. You know what I mean? Like we do well. Like we all get to eat. We all are persevering one day at a time. But we're by no means living extravagant lives financially. But like I think success, again, back to like what we were trying to feed it to earlier, is more than money. So I think that's like what I was trying to get to, is like the journey of what we're doing. And then somehow it's like a puzzle. I was walking out of the gym the other day, going to pick up my kid, and I was thinking about this. I was like, it's just a big puzzle. Like entrepreneurship is just one big puzzle, and it's just trying to find the right pieces at the right time to slide in to get your break, and like it's one big problem solving. Like I've always liked problem solving, even in math when I was a kid. I always liked to look games, So I feel like this is like the problem solving on a global scale when you're trying to make your business successful. But it's the why, it gets exhausting sometimes for sure. I think
I think as I contemplate my personal why, it's interesting that we are in the business of helping other people consider their why. Like, why are you not active? Or if you are active, why did you choose that? And you do more of this than this, or why do you go there and not here? And I just think what kind of just crushes me sometimes is I don't think people know. I don't think they could really answer it in a paragraph. I don't think they could give me 3 reasons why this was the best fit for them.
I could give you a reason. Order. They become comfortable. You know what I mean? It's like, as we've both been kind of digging into Jordan Peterson's work, it's chaos is the unknown, and the unknown could be anything that they don't know. Like trying if you do yoga and someone tells you to come to the cycle bar, that's chaos. That's the unknown. Like you're gonna rebel against that idea just innately until you can either have like the consciousness, right? Like we talked about earlier. I think before we even started the podcast, having the intuition to not order that burger because it's what you usually do. You know what I mean? You have that first kind of initial thought, and you say, well, maybe I'll do good by diversifying my physical portfolio. That's not what most people are thinking. I don't think so. I think most people are just like, I exercise. I go to yoga 3 times a week. I'm good.
I'm good.
That basket's filled.
I just need to eat less.
Things like that. So I think it's just the unknown. It's trying to bridge that gap and make people understand that like your physicality like is such a large part of this existence. And to discount it because we've created a culture where it isn't that important. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. Like, you can get a job in tech and make millions of dollars and just sit on your ass and eat donuts all day and be successful. Mm-hmm. That's like a normal way to live your life in 2018. So it's trying to bring humans almost back before this whole scientific technological revolution, back to their more primal cues, and make them understand that like, listen, buddy, like you're not going to tick correctly unless you fill these baskets.
So we need like a month-long power outage for people to go back to more of a natural way of existing.
Well, imagine you dismantle the grid, right? How many people are fucked? Like in the United States, like a large percentage of them are not going to have any clue what to do. Even I wouldn't really know what to do, but I'm very healthy, so I have that. So I'm not going to worry about dying in the first week.
I'm not going to get eaten because you're not going to catch me.
Yeah, for sure. Or I'm not just going to like die from some sort of sickness or illness. You know what I mean? Communications goes down, so now you can no longer get your medications for whatever issues you do have, right? Like I think people don't think about that stuff. Like it would all be dismantled without it. Like we're living in this like Truman Show type of world now. That's just like
so. Order can also be described as predictable and and routine,
habitual. Yeah.
So things that are
you need that. I think you get, and obviously you can become too much because like we all know if you get too humdrum into routine, like you kind of go crazy and you become content, and you don't want to be like completely content with your life. You should always be pursuing more and more to try to push the boundaries of your mind,
That's interesting because when obviously contentment is contentment means that you don't have any worries, even though that's a false state of living because just as, it's like people that have the bachelor's degree corporate job, like I think just as many people are laid off as people in small business go out of business. So it's really a false sense of security, but yet every entrepreneur sweats every day about their future, and then people in the other jobs don't even think twice about it. So it seems like
you need that sense. I mean, it's been a part of life forever. Like it's just struggle and reward, struggle and reward, struggle and reward. Like there can't be one without the other, and like you almost have to have it, But again, it's one of those things when you're having a week where you're just getting shit on, you're just like, it becomes exhausting to an extent. But then again, like if you can have the foresight to say like, in a month, in a year, in 5 years, I'll look back on this. If you continue the path, you know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, 5 years from now I'm going to be successful. Well, no, like what are you going to do today and this week and this month and this year that's going to allow you to say that 5 years from now? So it's just like a constant, just pick yourself up from your britches and keep going kind of life. You know what I mean? That's why when I see people, and again, I think we're in the business of being empathetical as well. I think we do a pretty good job. But just when people are constantly complaining, I just think they're missing the point of what like their struggles. It's like, no, this is what's going to allow you to become a good human. You're complaining about the thing that's going to make you better, and I do it. I'm guilty of it. I'm just trying to get better at it, and I'm just speaking to what I know I should be doing, but still struggle to execute on. Mm-hmm. But it's like when things are tough, if you can just kind of have that initial foresight, just to go, this is not that bad. Like I still eat, I still have shelter, still have water. I was explaining that to my kid yesterday. I was like, dude, like, as long as we can eat, have shelter, have our family be together, like.
I love, man, it's like, it's interesting. I've heard it before and I never really got it, but my daughter is actually now my teacher. You know what I mean? Because it's interesting, the things, I don't know, man. It's like I have trouble sometimes even putting into words some of the things that her and I go through together. We had a little incident this weekend where she's got a side hobby where she's an artist, so she creates art, she does pictures, she does costumes, things of that nature. And she was showing one of her friends one of the costumes that she made, and he was like, "I want one." So they worked out a deal. Obviously, we coordinated it through the parents that she was going to create this costume for him, and he in turn was going to use his Christmas money and pay for it. Obviously, we made sure the parents were cool with it and everything like that, and everybody said, yeah, it's his money. He can use it however he wants. So they agreed. They agreed to the project. They agreed to the colors, everything that they were agreeing on. But what I found interesting is a month later, she just wasn't showing what I felt was a powerful enough entrepreneurial spirit. In other words, she wasn't attacking this task. I mean, here she was already in possession of the money, already had the designs laid out and everything, but for some reason, she wasn't moving forward on her project. Parents don't always do everything the right way. Again, why? Why do parents do what they do? I have no idea. Probably because my parents did it to me. But so we chose, my wife and I basically chose, okay, if you haven't gotten to at least this point in the project by this date, we agree that you should give the money back and the project is over. Okay? Again, we just assumed that would motivate her. Well, we get to that date and not a whole bunch more had been done. So we had to deal with yesterday saying, give me back the money. We're giving back the money. The transaction is over. You don't have to move forward on it anymore. So obviously, what's the first thing she says? Why? Here we are. Why? So I tried to create it in, like a sixth grade terms, we like to say it, so people can understand it as to why and how we came to the decision. But what I found interesting is afterwards, she came to me about 2 hours later and said, I was upset at first that we're no longer doing the project and I no longer earn the money. She goes, but I got to be honest with you. She says, I am relieved. I'm relieved because this has actually been a burden to me. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know that I haven't gotten done. And the more that I thought about it, the more painful it became. She goes, and so she goes, I actually feel better now, and I realize now, moving forward, that I'm no longer going to accept jobs under the similar terms. I'm going to have to start a different way. So it turned out to be a really good learning experiment. So I was able to translate my personal why as to why we did what we did and said what we said and created the timeline we created, and she actually got an moment. So I think we try to lead everything back to. So I like using her because I try to lead everything back to what I do on a daily basis. So it just makes me stop and say, okay, why do we go about doing the things that we do? Why do we choose this order of how we deal with a new client? Why do we choose this progression scheme with our exercise selection? So I'm thankful that when it at least comes to the organic nature of our business, that we have really solid answers for our whys. You know what I mean? Why we do the things that we do, and why it's also not that easy to just bend and try new things all the time, because back to being successful, what does it mean to be successful? Well, maybe in my case, making a life doing it my way. You know what I mean? Even when everybody says maybe you should try it this way. So that why is always there.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes like a baby, so you're attached to it. Mm-hmm. I don't really ever even think about, I don't even really like the word work. You know what I mean? To explain what we're trying to do. I just feel like we're just creating a project every day. We're just trying to create a successful project with the Inflow Wellness Academy. So it's easier to stay motivated and then to not cut corners, because you don't want, because it's your identity. At the end of the day, we identify with the company because we're creating the company. So we don't want it to have a bad look, because then it'll put a bad look on us. And I think we're both pretty honest and people with pretty good integrity, and I think we're trying to show that through the business. And again, I think that's why we have that weekly joke where we just go, do we just put a boot camp in and just give everybody arthritis? and make a bunch of money, and then maybe we'll have the money to do it our way. Like, do we cut a corner somewhere? Like, and at what point do you throw? Like, if we continue down this path for another year or two, and we're just like I said, sitting here picking our asses. Like, I just don't think it'll be for a lack of effort. So then, like, is our model broken? Is Michigan not the right place? Why? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Why didn't it work?
Yeah, why didn't it work?
Why did this guy work and this guy over here didn't?
Well, and I think that's the luck aspect. You know what I mean? Because again, like, I think I work hard, and I think I could work harder. But I think I work really hard. I think I work a lot harder than most people. So, like, again, like, if a year from now we're not where we want to be, either I'm just an idiot and I just did put that effort in a very poor spot, or, like, people just aren't responsive to what we're trying to create. And, like, we have to rethink. Maybe we just do the inflow boot camp. We bring everybody in and have them do shitty squats and keep motivating them, tell them they're doing a good job, and
because even as we change, even as our corporate model changes, that obviously that change starts with us. So you're not gonna, we don't bring anything into our business that we haven't tried to bring into our own lives. But it's like you constantly have to deconstruct. You've got to break down what I believed yesterday, what I thought was righteous yesterday, and so in other words, leading us back into chaos. So every time you ask the questions why, it's almost like a deconstruction of today's beliefs. It's a deconstruction of today's ideals and thoughts, and that creates momentary chaos because now you have no idea who you are. You have no idea what's next, but there's the only truth that you find isn't it through that chaos? Don't you have to go through the chaos to find the next thing?
We have to go through the chaos to reassemble more order. Like you have to find the new thing and then establish the new thing and then find the next new thing and then establish that new thing and so forth until forever. there's no like, and then that doesn't end, and you see that end. You see that end with an entrepreneur that's successful and then sells his business and then it has a void, has to create something new.
Yeah.
You got to keep going. Like it's part of like what makes you tick.
I think that's what I was trying to spit out earlier is the whole point where even when I have those days of why do I keep grinding the way I'm grinding, maybe I just need to like execute that question and bury it because like you said, like I couldn't sell this business because I'd have no more why.
Yeah.
Like, why did I sell the business?
Yeah, right.
I actually liked what I did. I did think we promised that we would, bring some of our talks back to the academy, so I like being, I like our question, answering questions of some of our clients is, it all depends. We don't know why we're always doing everything, we do, but we know that we didn't come to this conclusion through nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to create like a second currency, which is like wellness and awareness. Because it's more rewarding than your bank account is. It just is. There's way more to it. Any successful rich person that has a balanced life would tell you that. And if we can create that, then we can kind of take off the financial aspect off the table, which is what we're trying to do. And again, like I think our services, like we're not intending to make them pricey, but just by nature they're an investment. But again, it's like you spend 6 months with us here, and I guarantee you see the world in 150% different light. It will reshape your entire awareness to your surroundings.
Okay, let's play on that point. So we'll play a little game, and we'll call the why do we do certain things at Inflow Wellness Academy. And again, I think the point we're hoping to get to with this podcast is you don't have to have answers for all your whys. If you're asking why, then you're in that chaotic phase, and the next light, the next hope, the next a tool that will complement your existence is coming by way of the chaos. So I think being open to deconstructing even our policies here, I think is as chaotic as it can be from time to time. I think it's absolutely necessary. So why don't we do boot camps?
Too many people in one room, not enough coaching, not enough time to correct form, not enough, progression-based training, just high risk of injury.
Why is that important?
Because people don't want to get in. That defeats the purpose of training. You trained, and again, I'll preface my outlook on training. Like I view training through the lens of longevity, no matter who they are or what they are. Whether you're a competitive athlete or you're a general population client just coming in looking to feel better. It's always got to be longevity based, and sometimes with performance you compromise mildly, but you still err with caution and you try to keep the athlete as healthy as long as possible because, if you get injured, now you can't do what you're supposed to do every day. Like you just can't. And we deal with a lot of people here that are in pain. I mean, we have a pain program. We've built a pain program because 90% of the people that walk through our doors are like, oh, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. Oh, my shoulders hurt, So we can't even I couldn't imagine tossing them into a group with 30 other people and having them do kettlebell swings because everybody else is doing it.
If I had a nickel for every time I was asked why did we buy an infrared class 4 laser, that's the price of a small sedan. Why did we just install an infrared sauna? And that's a very easy answer. I mean, that's the easiest answer I can come up with. When it comes to the internal workings of this company and how we move and shape people into a needs approach and not a this would be really cool approach.
Why have you become okay with living in pain?
Right.
That's what I would
Why
ask.
are you here?
Yeah. There's so much more to just, banging weights. Like you got to bang weights sometimes. Like, you should be lifting heavy shit. Your bones will thank you for it when you're 75. But there's a global perspective to it. You can't fill the physical bucket with a 40-minute boot camp 4 to 5 days a week. You just can't. And again, I think it can be a great accessory. I think if you've put the time in, you've learned the mechanics, you can go to a boot camp and crush, and you can get all your metabolic work done 2-3 days a week there. Nothing wrong with that. I have nothing against it. But to take somebody that has no prerequisites to movement and to toss them into that setting, and then to do it in a sense like you're not going to load them up too much, so they're probably not going to get an acute issue. Like they're not going to just blow their back out on it. It's going to be 4 or 5 years. They're going to develop these issues over time. They'll become chronic, which is, in my opinion, more dangerous. When something's slow onset, you're not aware and you gradually learn to live with it until it's unbearable. But you're like, oh, it's fine. Whereas if you just if you break your arm, you go to the doctor and you get a cast and then you go about fixing it. But if you have slow onset of tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, most people just live with that, because it's
a couple of ibuprofen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you can go dig into the studies on that about how bad just the mild use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories are. So it's
So it's I like our whys. So why did we start a pain program? Because people need it. Why don't we let people just drop in and work out with us? Because we want to make sure that they're getting a quality look, and that if they leave here and we never see them again, that at least they know that they went to a place that had their best interest. So I think I don't know. I think it's really easy for why we do what we do and why we don't do what we do. So. I guess our real mission is helping people. That's what this podcast is going to be about, is helping people just stop and take a few seconds. And before you do anything, before you eat a food, before you put your feet on the floor, in the morning when you're getting out of that warm bed, why? Why do I need to be up when my alarm first goes off? Why don't I hit the snooze? Why should I have 2 glasses of water when I first wake up? Why should I floss and brush my teeth before bed? Why should I meditate? And I think we do a really good job here of educating people on the principles, and then by almost, for the lack of a better term, forcing people to do it, forcing our clients to go through these things. I definitely think it helps build that bridge to our why, and then now it just becomes why not, So I definitely like that. I think I prefer to stay on the side of why, just because I always want to constantly be pushing. I want to be pushing the next why. Again, I think I have to accept staying in that non-ordinary state of chaos, and constantly analyzing my why. I don't really, at this point, I don't really know if I have any control over it. I think it's just something that I'm going to do. I think it's just a part of who I am, and I hope to inspire people to, analyze more of their whys that they do things before, this physical life, at least in this phase, is all said and done. We should all be so bold, right?
We should, man. We should avoid ignorance at all costs, So you should, if you're looking for your why, you should be proactive about it, And again, to your point, we do try our best to educate people without, getting too intense. But I think when you find that person that, you tell about the infrared sauna and then they do it, like it, and then they go home and they're researching it and then they're ranting and raving about it, now you buy in, back to our other podcast. Now you have somebody that's going to commit to using it, to using the technology, and is going to benefit from it. So, I think some people have to do it. Like it's got to come down to the individual. You have to take responsibility for this kind of stuff because no one can do it for you. I think we do an exceptional job of facilitating everything you would need to succeed. But again, we can't do it for you. And we can hold your hand along the way and tell you how hard it's going to be or how easy it's going to be, depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish or change as far as your habits go. But
yeah, should we say why choose Inflow, or maybe the question would be better asked, why not?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you choose a place that offers you the following things?
Well, from my own experience in this industry, it's almost like, at least with what we're creating here, and I came from a boot camp setting and a service that was subpar, but good marketing strategies and good hustle, and that was able to build a pretty successful business. But I think I'm blanking on my point, but the why not, why not?
Maybe you. I'm saying maybe. Again, sometimes we're just drawn. Sometimes we're just drawn to an idea, and as much as I want to analyze all of my whys, sometimes I just also want to make sure that I've put in enough work up to date, and I continue to put in enough work as to trusting my instincts, and I think I read a lot more, philosophy books and mindset-focused books than I do business books. And, maybe that's why my why has changed from Think and Grow Rich to, why not?
Yeah. I definitely could. I could definitely read more books on marketing strategies, but
I can tell you why not. Because I don't like it. Going back to other podcasts, we want buy-in. We don't want sale-in,
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it seems like there's a lot of deceit, like a lot of success is built on like deceiving. So trying not to do that, trying to be authentic and organic, and then again, just I guess showing up, trusting the process, and embracing the chaos. And if we wake up, a year from now, picking our asses, we'll have to maybe take the deceit route.
Yeah, I guess maybe we could. Maybe we could flip the why back. Why do you allow yourself to stay in a constant state of stress? Why do you allow yourself to grieve? Where it starts to control your entire day. What compels people? What compels people to stop and analyze? That I don't know. I don't even know that I could tell you when I started. I don't know. Probably, just probably trying to.
When you stopped and started thinking about things?
Yeah. I was a zombie up to a certain point.
I remember like the catalyst for me. I remember working at the factory and having a pretty good mentor sit me down and say, I'm going to fire you in a year if you don't find a new job or something to do. He was the owner of the company, and I was doing just like manufacturing work. It was just, there's no way. Even if I worked there forever, I couldn't make more than like $16 an hour. So that kind of drove some urgency. And then after I obviously found out I was having my kid, this was after that, I started realizing that I was going to have to compete with adults. And I think that was like the big catalyst for me. And then I still remember I read Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within, and way too dense of a book, probably grasped 1/100th of it, but I remember I just committed to doing 20 pages a night, and I remember I finished the book, and I had never, and I was 19 at the time. I don't think I'd ever finished a book like a nonfiction informational book ever in my life, and it was just the most rewarding thing ever. So then I think I just read books just to finish them for a solid year, and maybe got a little bit of insight out of it, but I wasn't really, too good at learning yet, I guess. But it kind of jump-started to start thinking about things a little bit more. And now, just over the last like probably 8 months to a year, have I really just thought about things that, like beyond. I think that first 3-4 years was like, how am I going to make $1 million? I was just obsessed. I was like, because money when you have a family is very liberating.
Your why. That's your why.
Yeah. And now it's like, well, how can I live really well off of $30,000 a year? I think that's kind of how my brain's working now. Like, could I do everything I want to do if I didn't have any bills? Like, if I paid my house off, if I had no debt, if I didn't owe anybody money, and I made $30,000 a year, like, I think I could still vacation like every 2 months, just like very cheaply. I eat pretty cheap. I don't do a lot of stuff, I don't. And that's kind of where I've kind of gotten a little more enthralled with. And I think I think in that state is where I'll make $1 million. If that makes sense.
I think when you get to that point, how about this? I'm hoping when we get to that point of, again, advanced consciousness or closer step to enlightenment, whatever, however you want to measure it, I just believe that when we get to that point, it just won't matter. I think money is only an issue, if you will, for the lack of a better way of putting it, where we're at right now in our development, in our personal internal development. I think we believe that money's going to, again, create that marketing scheme. Money's going to create that, that wow effect when people walk in and see the pop of colors and all the cool office furniture and everything like that. So I think there's the assumption. But I always remember there was a book that I read, The Fish That Ate the Whale, great book about the banana trade, actually, true story. But the gentleman who at the end, he was a multimillionaire. Basically, the banana trade was built on understanding the jungle, understanding rain, and the people that lived in these tropical areas knew how to work with the land, and that's what made this guy, Sam Zamuri, so powerful, and it made his company so successful. But at the end, Wall Street kind of took over. Just a really rich guy bought the company out, and then tried to obviously, make more money by lessening the infrastructure, like, we don't need to spend money on that. We don't need to spend money on that. Well, long story short, the business starts really failing, like it's going under. And I think he lived like on the 20th floor of some apartment building or whatever. Well, the guy had a briefcase. I don't know what was in the briefcase, but he ended up jumping out of a building one day with his briefcase in his hand. And obviously you jump from 20 floors, you're dead. Okay. And
this is the guy that bought the business? That
bought the business, and the business was starting to fail. So the obvious answer as to why he jumped out of the building was that he was broke, right? That's what a poor person's going to say. Oh, it's because he went back to being poor. Well, come to find out, after he hit the ground, this investor was actually still worth over $200 million, right? So I guess I try to remember that story, because as much as I believe that if all of my whys are trying to add up to, the infamous $1 million or whatever your number is, pick a number that's going to make you happy. I think it's a reminder that it doesn't have anything to do with it. That people even with $200 million jump out of buildings.
Yeah, I think it's relative to basic human needs. Because again, you can't. And this is again like going back to the order and the chaos and the duality of like being a gypsy. It's very attractive. It's woohoo, but like there is a sense of reality that you can't avoid. And being financially secure to raise a family and a household is one of those realities. So if you don't pay those bills, someone comes knocking on your door to take your shit. Mm-hmm. So as much as I want to sit there and levitate and float away, there's always going to be, at least until I can be in a position financially, someone's going to keep grabbing my leg and pulling me back down to earth. Mm-hmm. So I think for me at this point, it's not, I want to make and then again at 19, my perception of what $1 million is way different than at 23. I now understand like if I had $1 million, I could do so much with it. And before I just thought like, it's just $1 million. You think you're going to get a job out of college and make $90,000 when you're 19 years old. That's just not. It's not reality. It's just not how it works unless you're get a degree in astrophysics and go work at like the top levels of NASA. And even then, you might start at 90. Like barely.
as things change, we talked about it. So you go from chaos to routine, and then to get to the next level, you have to go back through chaos again. So I think we probably, even individually, you and I, we probably need to kind of remember that. We both have our $1 million vision of and how it's going to go. But then I guess we could say, why $1 million?
Yeah, I think for me now, like at least what I've kind of planned out for 2018 and just going forward on a day-to-day basis, is just like not even worrying about, like, not thinking about the money, not like how am I going to make $1 million, but more so like what habits would support a millionaire. You know what I mean? Like what's the habits of somebody that's super successful financially? Mm-hmm. And obviously some of them probably are really bad, and those are the people that jump off of buildings.
That's that luck. That's that cofactor luck.
Yeah. So, but then again, like you read insights into some of the greatest minds that have been able to somehow live this life where, like, obviously they're very financially wealthy, and they're also like full of wealth in all the other aspects of their life. And those are the people that I look to emulate habitually. So I've kind of gotten away from that. I want to make $1 million, kind of like just woo-ha, like, what is it, Oprah Winfrey, the secret type mentality where you just think about it. And,
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, and like I definitely believe in some sort of manifestation, but I think it's got to like coincide with your daily rituals and habits and your ability to journey into chaos. Like, and I think where we're both at in our lives, like I've established in my own mind that that's just what I do. Like from 19 to 23, all I've done is chaos. Like it's just been one. Like there really hasn't been any order yet. Like it's just like I had my kid, and it's just been like one wave crushing me after the next, and just kind of continuing to try to swim. And
eventually, one learning experience after.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, now that's how I see it. Right.
When you get to be my age, you'll be much better prepared.
That's what I'm hoping, man. I hope when I'm your age, I am on the beach.
I hope you get to my age, man.
That's.
I
might
that's
not.
a long way to come.
It is, man. Every time I drive in Michigan, I'm like, today's probably my day.
Well,
those potholes are going to kill me.
I'm just thinking. So I think why is interesting. Simon Sinek. It starts with why. So I don't even know that you have to answer the question. I just think that you have to pose the question. Okay, you have to pose the question why, and just allow it to be open. Just allow it to be open-ended. Again, why. Again, bringing it back to Inflow Wellness Academy, we know why we have a variety of pain modalities: our joint therapy, our durability classes, our aforementioned infrared, our infrared class 4, our infrared sauna. We even have made friends with the Bowen therapist. We know why, because we need to get people, from pain to performance, and we're not gonna put bricks on top of a quicksand foundation. I know why we went to the semi-private model. The semi-private model puts multiple people in a room together, and it makes it not a personal journey, but an us journey. We talked about how much more powerful it is when we are trying to, again, deconstruct our past and move closer to the future that we want, rather than just the I. So there's a little loneliness in I, and so I like our semi-private model. I like our ability to bring pricing down to fit, group training. I like not having everything figured out with our program design. I think it shows a very organic environment, because I don't exactly know how you're going to respond to this. So I can't exactly tell you what's next, but I can promise you we'll progress. So I feel really good about our why, and I hope some of our listeners that maybe are on the are teetering on, maybe evaluating, where they're at in their life, and maybe where they're at with their gym or where they're at with their job, maybe just take 5 minutes and just ask yourself why, and don't necessarily have to come up with the answer. Just the fact that you're asking the question is an amazing, chaotic starting point. So. Yeah,
it's the initial start of contemplation,
Yeah.
That's where it all happens, man.
And you and I, we're not obviously, if people are listening to us, they know we're not reading this podcast off a script.
Yeah.
We're definitely as transparent as clear glass. So, but I think getting to the end, closer to the end of this podcast, I think it does actually help me, rationalize my whys and my constant seeking and searching and knowing that, I feel more valuable personally. I feel my hard work is valued more, again, in the chaos and in the unknown, because sometimes ordinary can be pretty boring.
Definitely, man. That's kind of what it is for me. It's one day at a time. The unknown kind of brings a sense of, back to the problem solving. It gives you that opportunity to continue to solve problems and feel that sense of reward. So I think you kind of get addicted to it. And I think it's like a certain kind of person that becomes an entrepreneur because of it. You hear like people like Gary Vee talk about how like he wants to lose everything. It's kind of like a crazy. It's almost like a form of like neurosis. Like he's like a mental person in a sense.
So he can rev back up again.
Any rational. Well, and again, I think it alludes to the fact that it's not about the money. Like any rational person sees him and goes like, oh, I wish I was that successful and that rich. Meanwhile, he's like, I just like to work. I just want to work harder than everybody. He's like, I don't even care about what I have.
Elon Musk. I mean, the guy's incredible. The guy's he's been divorced 5 times.
Yeah, dude.
Got how many kids?
His autobiography about, taking the money from PayPal and then just buying rockets and then fucking up and then buying more rockets to the point where, like, he blew all of his fortune and then he had, like, one last shot at it and then he was going to be broke and never be able to buy a rocket again and, like, he was successful. It's just, like, crazy. Like, he blew up, like, 3 rockets.
I wonder if he'd be able to answer his why. I don't think he'd have a clue.
I bet he would. I bet he's thought deeply on that. He's kind of talked about it in interviews about his role in advancing human civilization and occupying Mars to like further the human race.
Okay, then he'd also be able to justify. He'd probably be able to explain why he's been divorced 5 times.
Exactly. I mean, he's sending a Tesla to Mars,
and he's going to leave it there
until he gets there. He's going to get up there and then it's going to malfunction.
Pretty incredible.
The guy's a madman for sure. But again, you can't you see. I don't know that you can have Elon Musk that's also a great dad and a great spouse. Like I just don't.
It doesn't read the same way.
And that's why I don't think that I want. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast. Like I wouldn't want this place to get to the point where it's out of control. Like it's because you get to that unlimited growth model, like any large Fortune 500 public company where, they got the shareholders and then they got the executives and the executives are under stress from the shareholders to continue to grow every year no matter what. And if they don't, then they're subject to lose their job and get, fired. Like I can't imagine like the stress. Of course there's deceit. Like what do you expect from a company that's on that unlimited growth model? Like they're going to do anything they can to make that profit margin go up. Otherwise, they're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their security. At the end of the day, we are all we're all an individual. We're always thinking about ourselves, whether we think we are or we aren't. I think especially big like businessmen or big successful business women. Like when you get to that rung of the ladder, you've probably shit in a couple people's shoes to get there, and like you're not willing to lose that power. So whatever you have to do to continue, the barrage, you'll do it. So that's what you're seeing with like pharmaceutical companies and, cigarette companies. Like they're just clinging and doing whatever they can to continue to grow. And I don't think I would ever want to become
They know what
that.
their why is.
Yeah, they're
profitability.
Profitability, 100%. Right. That's the downfall of going public. You're at the whim of these shareholders, and like if those numbers go down, then everybody loses money and everybody's mad, and they need someone to point the finger at, and it's going to be you as the CEO or it's the president or whoever is appointed. So I think for as much financial success as we don't have, I think it's better than having way too much.
I think there's a balance.
Yeah, for sure. Every life's a balance. It's like our last podcast, man. It's all a big balancing act. Trying to find to the point where we have 100 clients that we're catering to with full presence, and we're all feeding our families and paying our bills and taking a couple vacations a year. I think we could all high five and say, we're good.
Yeah, before we get to 200, maybe we should just get to like 110.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, I might just be like, again, it's the common argument of like the need for innovation. Like, why? Mm-hmm. There's a really good book called Rework by I can't think of his name, but he's one of the lead developers of Basecamp. It's like an online platform for teams to bounce ideas, to write ideas, to do tasks, that kind of stuff, and they have like 3 guys that work for them. They're super successful. He wrote a whole book on why do people have this desire to become Google? He's like, I make a ton of money. I work with like 3 of my best friends. Like we have a super successful platform that we believe in and love and work on every day. He's like, I'm good. And his argument's like, why? Like, what's this need for innovation? Like, why do we need the iPhone 10? Like the iPhone 7 works pretty good.
Yeah, man.
You know, why is it, will we get to that point? I don't think. I think the tires are moving too fast now. But I think on the individual level and with what we're creating at the Inflow Wellness Academy, and you know, your mind and Dan's mind and my mind, the reasons we're doing it, I think we might get to 100 and be like, we're good.
I think I'm gonna drop this back down.
Yeah,
and go back down to 80.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get 100, and you got to think like maybe 70% of those clients produce 5% of the income, and the other 30 produce the 95. So then you do tread water. You know, you take that Pareto's principle, and you go the 80-20, find the 20% that's producing 80%, and then you cut the rest. And now we're only working 15 hours a week and making pretty much the same amount of money. And
we'll know exactly why.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's one of the beautiful things about having the opportunity to create something. You know, like where it goes, I don't know. You know, or do we just get obsessed and just lose sight of everything?
Well, we'll have to
start balling out of control, buying Ferraris, training way too many people.
Vegas, hookers, and...
Were you going to say cocaine? Like,
I was.
Yeah,
I was. But then I'm like, well, I already said hooker, so maybe I shouldn't do hooker and cocaine
just finish it out.
in the same podcast. Now I'm in trouble.
No, we're enlightened, bro.
You know, if you're wondering why I said that, I have no idea.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
None of it matters.
It's chaos. I tell you what, you snort a bunch of cocaine, you'll be in chaos for a while.
For sure. If you wanna feel like you're having some order, but really like you're feeding like in like a couple days or the next day chaos, there's your route. Any drug. I mean, what's his name alludes to that in his new book, Jordan Peterson, about alcohol, like the positive feedback loop of alcohol. You know, it's built in. You know, you do it to feel good, and then you feel shitty. And then you can feel good again by doing it, and then you feel shitty, and you feel good by doing it, and then you feel shitty. So instead of resolving the issue by not drinking again and just dealing with it and getting through it, you just drink because it's easy. So it's
Yeah, then that's probably why not.
It's interesting, man. A lot of whys.
Yeah, man. Well, I think, that's what we said we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And, what's cool is, we're even challenging our listeners to, just asking the question and just maybe sitting in contemplation.
Write it down.
Write it down. But I think we did the same thing with today's podcast. Like we had kind of an angle, but just like tomorrow, it's unknown. It's unknown exactly what you can do with this information. I know that it helps me, rationalize maybe some areas where I've maybe stressed too much, or maybe I don't think I'm getting enough done. And it does remind me of why I do what I do and why I do it with the people that I do it. With you and Dan and B and Jordan and all of our amazing clientele. I think that's one thing I've never really had any problem justifying. I've never really had a tough time coming into working with people like you and our clients. So, why are we going to do the next thing we're going to do? Because we found ourselves back in chaos again, but. Through the contemplation, I think that we'll just continue to make really great decisions. I think we'll continue to benefit our own personal lives through these talks, through these ideas, through kind of looking at things abstract. And I think we're just hoping for the same thing for our would-be listeners.
Yeah, and I think pushing them to not, like, back to what you were saying about your daughter and the angst and the relief of not having to do that anymore is when you put things off. They build, and that uncertainty breeds more chaos than anything. Order comes through discipline at the end of the day. So you need to be doing something. Whether you come and see us at the Inflow Wellness Academy in Plymouth, or you do it on your own, or you follow a program online, or you go to a local gym near you, wherever you live, like you need to be doing something, and you need to be disciplined about it, because then you'll have order where there was once chaos, and then you'll understand, and you'll be able to free your mind to think about other things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think, and this is something that I try to do better every day, which is to not put things off, because anxiety is coming from putting things off. Chaos is coming from putting those things off. So we, again, are trying to make it as simple as possible, and that's why we've, put a lot of time into our whys. Like you come here, we take all the guesswork out. Now you ask us, why am I doing this? And we give you answers. All you need is your individual reasoning, which is to be healthier, to live a more fulfilled and aware life. That's if that's your why, then show up and we'll show you and give you reason to do everything else. So
we're looking for any of you out there that is asking yourselves why. Well, come on in and
We'll help you find out.
We'll help you figure it out together, man, because I don't really know today, but we'll figure it out.
I don't think anybody knows, and I think that's the best part.
I think it is too, man. If this was all predictable, it just wouldn't be as fun.
No,
it's like Pleasantville, right?
Yeah, you got to get addicted to that uncertainty and that chaos to an extent. Again, I think chaos and order on the extreme ends are both dangerous. So you got to tread water. You got to ride the line. You got to stay between the yin and the yang.
But that's what I think that's what this life is for. I think this life is for a little excitement, a little unknown, a little roller coaster. You know, what else? What else would be the point? I think even I use this a lot. You know, even I think Krishna was asked, why does God allow the things that He allows in the world, and He answered it with to thicken the plot, and that to me is. I just think it's an amazing answer. It's just an amazing answer. Like, life would be absolutely boring without some distractions, without some unknowns, without some shortcomings, without some analyzation, without – I don't know. It's like each day is just ripe with opportunity if you're just willing to ask the right questions and you're willing to put yourself in the position to maybe find out some of the answers. So that's a personal challenge to you. I'm sure you'll give that challenge back to me. We challenge all of our clients with it every single day, and hopefully that will be the trend that we bring to the industry. It'll be the opportunity that we bring to our clients to be so bold, to ask yourself why.
Well said, man. Well said. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're not already writing down your why on your piece of paper, go ahead and do that now.
WHY.
And then, send us any feedback about, if this helped you in any way, and we'll continue to pump out content and, just kind of push our minds together and see where it goes. We never really have a plan. Like Ben said, we don't have pieces of paper in front of us. We're not reading off of scripts. We have ideas when we go in, but they usually just kind of spread out all over and try to bring them back to the point, which obviously today was your why. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Just want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, the Inflow Wellness Academy, located in Plymouth, Michigan. Make sure you check them out at inflowacademy.com, on Facebook and YouTube at Inflow Wellness Academy, and Instagram at Inflow Academy. Mention that you're a listener of the Finding Flow podcast and receive some awesome discounts on our exceptional services over at the Inflow Wellness Academy. These services include personal training through semi-private and private. We offer yoga, massage therapy, laser therapy, group classes, just about anything you need to optimize your life. We'll guide you through nutrition. We'll guide you through supplementation. We'll help you build a strong mind and help you achieve a better state of flow on the day-to-day basis. So make sure you check them out. And once again, thanks for tuning in to the Finding Flow podcast.